Welcome to Technocracy News and Trends. I'm Patrick Wood, editor and author as well. These are my books, starting in 1980 when I wrote the two-volume series with Anthony Sutton called Trilaterals over Washington. If you've never heard of the Trilateral Commission before, this is a good place to start. If you want to get at least understand the new international economic order, where it was started, etc. This is where it started with the Trilateral Commission in 1973. Then fast forward to 2015 when I wrote my first in the series of books on technocracy, Technocracy Rising. That was my first seminal book that exposed all the literature, all of the research that I'd done at that point for over 5-6 years at that point. Then 2018, I wrote The Hard Road to World Order. Then 2022, I wrote The Evil Twins of Technocracy and Transhumanism. That was a trip for sure because we discovered that transhumanism and technocracy had joined at the hip, as it were. Now our final book has come to the stage, the final Betrayal. This is technocracy coming to age, if you will, coming of age. This is a very disturbing development for sure, but I knew this would happen. I wrote about it in 2015 when I forecasted, if you will, that technocracy at some point would reach their own set of requirements that they have made before. They're very shrewd to do that for sure. And that is writing requirements to make a project work. I knew at some point they would say, well, we have all the cards now. We've covered all the bases. Now it's time to act, and it's time to basically take over. This is what's happening in 2025. So our book, The Final Betrayal. It really saddens me to even write to this book, but I'm so happy to have Courtney Turner along with me to author this book. We took great pains to make it easy to understand. I wouldn't say maybe at the seventh grade level for sure, but beyond that, at least for high school readers and so on, we wanted to make this book so easy to consume and read. And I designed it to be with basically large type, lots of airspace between the lines. It really is an easy read, even in an evening or an afternoon. Having said that, let's get into the material. My thesis for this presentation today is America has been completely betrayed by arch-Technocrats who have taken over Washington, D.C. The so-called Dark Enlightenment wants to turn us into a monarchy. Tokenization is flipping us into an asset-based economic system where you will own nothing. AI is shoving us into a digital gulag. Like it or not, you must face this beast, either to destroy it or learn to live with it. Well, I've been warning for 15 years. I'm not a prophet for sure. I'm not a predictor. I have been a trend forecaster for many, many decades. And this is basically the trend that's being established even right before our eyes. I've been warning so long, I just can't believe it at this point. So hopefully you can heed my warnings at this point. So, okay, what is technocracy in the first place? I always give this definition just to set the stage for where we need to go. Technocracy is a movement, historical movement. In fact, it's almost 100 years old. 2032, it will be 100 years old. Started at Columbia University, by the way. However, the Technocrat magazine, they actually had a magazine. There's a cover. This is what they said about themselves in 1937. Technocracy is the science of social engineering, the scientific operation of the entire social mechanism, to produce and distribute goods and services to the entire population, For the first time in human history, it'll be done as a scientific, technical, engineering problem. It goes on. There will be no place for politics, politicians, finance, or financiers, rackus or racketeers. Technocracy will distribute by means of a certificate of distribution available to every citizen from birth to death. Sounds cozy, doesn't it? All your needs are met by the technocracy. Really? Well, just note especially, there will be no place for politicians or politics. The scientists of that day thought, what's the use of politics if you have the truth on your side, the scientific truth on your side? They saw it as like a binary decision. Either you have it or you don't. If science says, you just do it without any discussion. Well, this is where we find ourselves today with basically our political system being neutered, if you will. And if these technocrats could have their way, they would throw the whole lot of politicians out of Washington, D.C., and just basically take over and run the whole thing themselves, according to their algorithms, etc. Well, the Technocracy study course that was written in 1934 sheds a little bit of light on how these people think. Technocracy is dealing with social phenomena in the widest sense of the word. This includes not only actions of human beings, but also everything which directly or indirectly affects their actions. Consequently, the studies of technocracy embrace practically the whole field of science and industry. Now, listen carefully here. Biology, climate, natural resources, and industrial equipment all enter into the social picture. Biology, climate, and natural resources. Fast forward to the United Nations establishing Agenda 21 in 1992. It was all about sustainable development. It was an economic system, a resource-based economic system that they established at the under the auspices of the United Nations. That was intentional, by the way. But biology, climate, and natural resources, this was the genesis of where this whole old doctrine came into play in the first place. Yes, it was technocracy that first defined the whole mantra, if you will. Well, back in the 1930s, and certainly by the 1940s, this is how cartoonists, political cartoonists, were picturing technocracy. They got it back then. Some people at least got it. And there was lots of coverage in the newspapers about technocracy, all critical, by the way. And this is one cartoon. Basically, the destroying monster is eating, fill in the blank, New York City or whatever. It's like the Japanese dinosaur, that ate Tokyo, sort of thing. Well, this was their view of technocracy. They got it back then. What's wrong with America at this point? They can't see this monster trying to devour society again. Well, here you go. So this was the map that appeared on the cover of that book, by the way, the Technocracy Study Course. You might have seen this before, recently even. Maybe never saw it before in your life. But when President Trump was inaugurated and he made moves to take Greenland by force, and Mexico perhaps by force, and Canada, however, make it the 51st state. Well, people got the idea of what's going on here. They're talking about Panama as well, to conquer Panama. And so this map appeared in all kinds of publications around the country, mainstream media even. They got this picture off the internet. They have absolutely no clue where it came from in the first place, I'm sure you. But this was displayed all over the media, that what was the plan, what Trump was trying to execute at that point, to create this North American technate. This is where it came from, folks, in the first place. So the joke is on them, right? Well, here's the distinctives of betrayal. Number one, Before November 2, 2024, most of the populist movement thought it was in charge to make America great again. That was a worthy goal, I think, of a lot of Americans who Trump eagerly accepted as supporters to vote for him. And they had no clue what was coming after that. But nevertheless, they've never heard, nobody at that point never heard anything about the Dark Enlightenment. Who knew when Elon Musk trotted out on stage at a late political rally just before the election, and he sported a black hat that had MAGA on the front of it, and he said, "I'm Dark MAGA." What? Nobody had a clue at that point what he was signaling. Obviously, he was saying something. Maybe it was a forward-looking signal to his cronies, the technocrats waiting on the other side of the election. Hey, guys, get ready. The Dark Enlightenment is coming at you right now. Get ready. Well, it turns out a small percentage of billionaire technocrats had other ideas to take America apart at the seams, literally, to establish a monarchy, remove the political system and private property in the process. This is now documented to the hilt, but nobody had a clue at this point. And so it just turns out that their philosophy was so, let's say, attractive to the Gen Z crowd especially. They found that they could pander to Gen Z, that's the Zoomers, basically born around 2000, 1995, 2005. The Zoomers, as they call them, were all on board all of a sudden with this Dark Enlightenment idea. It was something new. They'd never heard it before. They had no historical perspective to draw on. It sounded good. It sounded high-tech as well. But it has effectively destroyed the populist movement at that point. So at this point, you might be thinking, well, is the populist movement even around today? No, it isn't. It's gone. What we thought before the election is not there anymore. They've destroyed the whole thing. This is the betrayal. This is the biggest part of the betrayal. These are some of the people that have brought this to us. Oh, Elon Musk is on the top for sure. And here's Peter Thiel next to J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance, by the way, was a protege of Peter Thiel, who mentored him since his college days. He was the guy that funded him to get a Senate seat in Ohio in the first place. And he sponsored him at that point when Trump came to look for a vice president. Oh, we have the guy for you. It's Peter Thiel's man, J.D. Vance. This is how J.D. Vance got on the ticket in the first place. He was sponsored by Peter Thiel. We'll talk about him a little later. Then you have people like David Sachs, for instance, one of the original PayPal mafia people that was created by Peter Thiel in the first place when he founded PayPal back in the day, as we say. David Sachs is the AI and crypto czar right now. He's unelected, and he's serving without pay, might add. And he has a position in the government as a special advisor to the president. He's supposedly only allowed to serve 130 days a year. He says, well, I'm kind of piecing my schedule together so I can be within that 130 days. But my friends, it's way beyond at this point 130 days since he came into the White House. Oh, then you have the Secretary of Commerce. You have Larry Ellison, the founder of Oracle. You have Mark Andreessen, for sure, the accelerationist and the group. You have Michael Kratsius. And, of course, you have, this guy in the right corner now down here. Yeah, Curtis Yarvin doesn't fit, does he? Nevertheless, he's the mainstay at this point of the philosophy that's driving the Dark Enlightenment. For all these people, they're all marching to the same drumbeat, if you will. Peter Thiel was the guy that first sponsored Yarvin. I don't know how he got him into be thinking he was a philosopher. He does no training for it at all, but he's popped up to be a philosopher, self-styled maybe. And Peter Thiel says about him, he's my house philosopher. What does that mean? Is that like a houseboy or something? Not exactly, but you get the picture. Peter Thiel and Curtis Yarvin are very close at this point, and he views him as his house philosopher. Well, go figure. This is a crazy picture that we're looking at this point. Who are these people, and what on earth are they doing with our country? Here's one example of somebody who's looked at the whole thing and got a little confused maybe about stuff, but this is very good. He's articulating some facts about exactly what's going on. Just listen to this for a minute.
I think this might be the perfect indicator of the political moment we're in. The political spectrum, from far left to far right. I'm not going to break down the entire thing, but on the far right, you have this guy. This is Peter Thiel. You know how Hollywood films often get made fun of because of their ridiculous villains, like no one behaves like that in real life? Well, Peter Thiel is the perfect counter-argument to that criticism. He's as close as you can get in real life to a James Bond villain. He's like a slightly more sinister Elon Musk who tries to mostly stay out of the limelight. He's part of the so-called PayPal mafia, but he's better known now as the founder of Palantir, which is an AI company that is selling mass surveillance software to governments. And that's ironic because he's building the digital infrastructure for modern totalitarianism while describing himself, or at least he used to describe himself, as a libertarian. He, along with other tech entrepreneurs and Silicon Valley types and people like Curtis Yarvin, are part of this new brand of, I guess you can call them, tech libertarians, who refer to themselves as the Dark Enlightenment. Bond villains. And the core of the ideology of the Dark Enlightenment is that democracy and capitalism are incompatible. That's in their own words. And their solution to solving that incompatibility is to get rid of the democracy side of that equation. Curtis Yarvin talks about the need to replace democratically elected presidents with a CEO-type figure who would have plenary powers to run the country like a business without all of those pesky checks and balances. In other words, a dictator. But enough of them, because on the other side of the spectrum, you have people on the far left, not as far left as the communists and anarchists, but slightly left of center left, called democratic socialists. Democratic socialists are slightly different than social democrats in one key way, which is that they believe democracy and capitalism are incompatible, and they want to solve that incompatibility by getting rid of the capitalism side of that equation. And this is the part that's crazy to me and the reason why I'm making this video, which is that number one, the Peter Thiel side is winning right now. They're either in power or close to power in the US, and they're gaining influence everywhere else in the world. And number two, moderates and centrists seem to think that democratic socialists who want to save democracy at the cost of capitalism are more extreme than the people who want to save capitalism at the cost of democracy. And that is wild to me.
Is it wild to you as well? Well, this is crazy. I share his sentiment. It's hard to figure out. But yeah, listen to Curtis Yarvin now just explain himself about J.D. Vance. This you'll get the idea. He's, well, you certainly can't say he's on LSD or taking a drug in particular, but he's a little on the winky side, in my opinion. Just listen to this.
How invested do you think J.D. Vance is in democracy?
It depends what you mean by democracy. I mean, I think that the problem is basically when people equate democracy with good government. When you use that word, you're using a very tricky word. I would say that what someone like I'm on very safe ground, despite not knowing him well at all, that someone like J.D. Vance believes essentially in the common good. And the idea that government should serve the common good. And I think that people like JD and people in the sort of the broader intellectual scene around him, which is very varied intellectual scene, would all agree on that principle. Now, if that principle, I don't know what you mean by democracy in this context. What I do know is that if democracy is against the common good, it's bad. And if it's for the common good, it's good.
Okay, what does this mean? Well, you can trip over his words. He's very, he's unplugged. I can't think of another word to use without getting in trouble. A wackadoodle, perhaps. I don't know. But he's so twisted in his words. What do you mean by democracy? What's unclear to him? What's the context of democracy? It's crazy stuff. Well, let's just consider this business of the common good. This cuts to the chase. This concept of the common good, you see this all over the landscape right now. The problem with the common good is you're saying that the government should somehow pursue the common good, but that's dangerous. That's totally dangerous when leaders use it as a vague excuse to ignore people's fundamental rights and rules that limit their power, you see. Because the common good can mean whatever those that are in charge say it means. Doesn't matter what they say. They will declare what the common good is for you. It can become then a power or cover for forcing their own beliefs and plans on everyone else. And instead of protecting each person's freedom under clearly written laws, for instance, that's the rule of law that we have in our country. We have a constitution also that expresses our rights as human beings to exist on this planet. These people have another plan for us. Has nothing to do with freedom, liberty, etc., and individual conscience, etc. It's anti-human. It's anti-human civilizational. What can I say? Well, here's some distinctives of the common good. They've declared themselves already in favor of the common good. Here's the common good in their mind. Well, total surveillance leads to total safety. You heard that before? I think. AI will replace labor as a drudgery. Oh, you'll have lots of free time, for sure. You can do whatever you want to do. If you don't have to have a job, we're going to destroy jobs around the country, around the world, and we'll all be one big happy family with all this time on our hands to be creative and maybe paint pictures by the numbers or something, who knows. Universal basic income will meet all of your needs. How many times have you seen this in this last year? They're all talking about universal basic income at this point, especially the tech bros. Synthetic food is better for you than real food. Have you heard Bill Gates talking about that on national TV? You bet. All the time. Oh, what we have now, our fake meat, our fake corn, or our fake whatever, is so good for you, and it's made in factories, not on the stinking farms and the ranches, whatever. Okay. Well, here's a good one. You should give up your energy. That is the stuff that runs your household and your auto, all that kind of stuff. You should give up your energy to run humongous AI data centers, because after all, these data centers are going to basically run the country at some point and do all the work. Oh boy, you should give up your benefits. Government benefits, if you will. That's somehow you pay all these taxes. You're supposed to get something back in return, right? We really don't, but nevertheless, you should give up all of your benefits to fund AI to run society more fairly for the common good. Society can be better run by technocrats who have science on their side. They say science is impartial. Of course, all of this is predicated on lies, top to bottom. It's not true. But if they declare the common good, then that's the common good. That's what they're going to do. That's exactly what they're going to do, to destroy our country, the fabric of our country. Yeah. Well, Curtis Yarvin's ultimate answer to this, this is his humane alternative to genocide. He had a blog he wrote in 2008. We got a copy of it. I'm going to read you a little short paragraph, 2 pages here of this, and you see if you can figure out what he's talking about in particular. He understands that there's going to be a class of people that will be termed, for a better term, the unemployables. They'll never work again. They're squeezed out of the system. All of the jobs are not, no job is available for them, put it that way. They have no way to increase their skill set to become AI programmers or whatever, so they're going to be basically unemployables. That's a really demeaning term, but nevertheless, the unemployables, we have a problem with unemployables, I think. We have to give them money because it's not right just to kill them outright. So we have to give them something like universal basic income to just let them survive a little bit. They won't be happy maybe, but we have to do something. We can't just let them starve to death in the street. That would be bad for PR, right? Really? Well, this is how he explains the problem. Oh boy. Our goal, in short, is a humane alternative to genocide. That is, the ideal solution achieves the same result as mass murder, that is, the removal of undesirable elements from society, that would be you, by the way, but without any of the moral stigma. Perfection cannot be achieved on both of these counts. But we could get closer than most people would think. The best humane alternative to genocide I can think of is not to liquidate the wards, either in reality or literally, but to virtualize them. Now listen to this. A virtualized human is in permanent solitary confinement, waxed like a bee larva into a cell, which is sealed except for emergencies. I don't know what those emergencies would be, but nevertheless sealed in a cell. This would drive him insane, except that the cell contains an immersive virtual reality interface, which allows him to experience a rich, fulfilling life in a completely imaginary world. Okay, Curtis, you don't have to explain yourself here at all. Not at all. We get the picture. We get the picture perfectly. Anybody who is reduced to a larva in a cell will not have any private property at that point. No way. The fact that universal basic income means that there will be no private property because nobody will have any assets at the point. So does this mean that you will own nothing and be happy? A rich, fulfilling life in a completely imaginary world. Think goggles, virtual reality goggles, for instance, or glasses, to be immersed perpetually and a virtual world. I think this is the bottom line. Klaus Schwab talked about this several years ago when he says, by 2030, you will own nothing and be happy. Curtis Yarvin was already on record in 2008 as a prelude to that statement. Maybe Klaus Schwab got wind of what Curtis Yarvin was talking about in the first place. I'll tell you what, these are the nuts. These are the nuts who have taken over Washington, D.C., and who have betrayed all Americans. I'm not speaking just to conservatives. I'm not speaking just to Christians. I'm not speaking to just liberals or even communists for that matter. I'm talking to every American who can understand English at least, to the point where I'm saying this right now. You have been betrayed by these people. It's anti-human, it's anti-civilizational, and if we don't stop it, we're all in a big world of hurt. And I say, it's time to betray the betrayers. I can't tell you what that's going to look like for you, for sure, but only you at this point can make a difference. And now, as Paul Harvey used to say, now you know the rest of the story. I encourage you to go to technocracy.news to get my articles on technocracy posted every day. This is the main organ on the internet to get up-to-date updates on technocracy. Nobody else has done this over the last 15 years. I'm basically it at this point. So if you want to be in the know, go there and be in the know, so to speak. You can also take my boot camp, which is a good way to get into technocracy, to understand it in depth quickly. It's basically 15 to 20, 25 hours of online courseware. It's easy to follow. It's easy to consume, and you'll probably, if you get started and really get into it, you can probably do it in even one day. But nevertheless, it's a great way to get in the stream of things. And then there's the matter of our books, my books, and Courtney's and my Burke. All of these books are available on Amazon, and as well as Technocracy News. My company, my publishing company, Coherent Publishing, has been fortunate to be in the saddle to publish all of my books along the way. I could not have done that without this, because any other publisher would have hacked me to pieces, I'm sure. So being in the position of publishing your own work, I don't worry about that at all. So you can pick up from the beginning, Trilaterals over Washington, Technocracy Rising, The Hard Road, The Evil Twins, and now The Final Betrayal. If you had to take one book at this point, take The Final Betrayal. If you can't get through that, don't even worry about my other books. But if you can't get through the Final Betrayal, then go back and pick up my other books and fill in the blanks along the way. So here's where you can get all these books. Number one, Amazon carries everything. The paperback, the Kindle version, that's electronic reader version, and the audiobooks as well. The audiobook is currently in production right now. I expect maybe within 2 weeks from this date that the audiobook for The Final Betrayal will be on the market for you to get on Amazon. So you can get all those copies of things on Amazon. Technocracy News, however, you can always get a retail copy. I always sign every copy that I send out if you buy it from me directly. And I also offer wholesale discounts, starting with 2 books, down to 10 or more books. The discount goes down to as much as 50% on most books at 10 copies. So bookstores come and frequently buy books for me. They don't have to worry about going through distribution and all that nonsense. And if you want to just have a bunch of copies to hand out to people, come to me and get it off to my website. There's no other source that will give you a discounted price other than Technocracy News, and I could do that because I happen to know the publisher. So, and then I have a new venue called Books By / Patrick Wood. I have launched Final Betrayal on this website, books.by. And the reason I did this is to accommodate our international buyers who don't, for whatever reason, want to buy from Amazon. Amazon has units all over the world, by the way, if you didn't know that. They have Canada, Europe, the UK, Australia, and so on. And if you don't want to buy from Amazon in your area, you can go to Books By, and they will ship anywhere in the world. They have printing facilities all around the world, and they will ship books anywhere in the world. So I encourage any international customers, don't buy the book from me, because you know what? It's so expensive. It's unbelievable how the rates have been jacked up even higher than the cost of the book, which is only $24.95. I just calculated the other day. Somebody from Australia wanted a book, and I calculated the shipping. It was over $70. That's almost 3 times the price of the book. Crazy. I wrote him back. I said, I'm really sorry. I can't do this to you. Get the book from books.by, and you'll get fair shipping at that point. In fact, the company's based in Australia, and you won't pay the ridiculous price that we have to charge in America. So that's all that said. You have lots of ways to get your hands on the book. Please do. This is not about me making any money off this book. Believe me, there's yes, we get some money off the book. We really do. But we're not about selling books. You understand? I just hope you understand this. This is about saving America if we can. And if we can't do that, no amount of book sales is going to matter at all to anybody, especially me and Courtney at this point. So we're pulling for you at this point to get your hands on this material and consume it as fast as you can. Don't delay. And all I can say at this point, God bless. You have to have lots of decisions to make in the future. Like I said in the beginning, if you can't kill this beast, you're going to have to learn how to live with it. That's fair proposition as well. If you can't kill it, well, then we have to figure out how are we going to live with it in the future. God bless you. Take care.